Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Seen and Heard. Today I am joined by one of my caregivers.
Thanks for having me, first and foremost. I appreciate it. I'm Cynthia. I worked in the medical field for over 10 years now. I've done caregiving. Now I'm doing nursing type things. I work with JD. Prior to that, I've done CNA work. I've worked with someone who had ALS, and he unfortunately passed away the year I started working with you. Um, and I worked with him for like 9, 10 years. He was, he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot with like the mechanics of things, wheelchair working, just like in between the lines of things overall
I mean, it is very much a job where you learn so much like just doing it.
as you go.
There's so little I feel like that people can kind of prepare for in advance because it is so much like we don't know what's going to happen and everybody's so different. How did you kind of like get started?
Well, it was more or less like starting with nursing school, and in nursing school you have to do prerequisites of like, CNA work. So I was like, if I'm doing it in school, I might as well go do it and get paid for it. So that's what kind of got me into doing the CNA, and then from the CNA I was able to figure out like the PCA work of going to someone's house and making my own schedule around school. So that all worked. So then I started finding out like my niche. Like, do I want kids? Do I want older people? Like, and I was like, okay, kids break my heart a lot. Older people, we could crack jokes and get over the awkwardness. So I felt like someone like a little bit older than me or around my age in the beginning felt weird, but then afterwards, like it just became like second nature. After becoming a mother, it completely became second nature. Like the whole embarrassing, awkward moments were just out of the door. Like out of anything, people like you'll notice that I do things that are more like mom, like let me get this off of you,
Yeah, yeah.
without even realizing that I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, we're in public, stop. Like, but it's fulfilling.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of that awkwardness, especially like before you had your son and stuff, like what was it like kind of taking that first step into someone's like super intimate space, like seeing like, you just met this person and now you're seeing him naked.
Yeah. That part was more or less it was like it psyched me out in the beginning because I was just like my mindset was like, if I was on the other end, if this person was looking or feeling weird, it's gonna make me feel weird. So if I go in like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, like, "Let's just get this done. Let me cover up your spot." Like, make it
Yeah.
feel like it's not a thing. So then if it's not a thing for me, it's not a thing for them, you know? But I do obviously like read body language and know like what can make someone uncomfortable. Certain areas you get close to, they don't want you to, or they feel as if you're too reluctant in those areas. So they want you to do more, you know what I mean? Because they want it to be clean, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But it's reading off of personalities, That's more or less how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is this kind of like unspoken language that kind of develops between a caregiver and someone they're caregiving for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like, I often wonder like how accurate it is too. It's like, is in like I feel like there's a psychology of us trying to get into each other's heads sometimes where it's like, oh, like what's her mood today? Like, does she think I'm like in a bad mood? Just did I say something kind of like quick or weird or
Yeah.
in a way that might make her wonder something, and it's like there's so many like variables to that because it could be an emotional thing, it could be a physical thing, there's so many different ways my body could show up each day depending on how it's feeling and acting and stuff like that. What's kind of been kind of interesting to you in learning about that like body language with people?
I know people go with moods. Some days I'm happier than the other days, but we both have a task that needs to be done. There's things that you want to be done, and there's things that I want to do for you. So in the sense, like we both know what we need to get done, and like that's the number one focus. But making you comfortable is the like priority. You know what I mean? Because I could be doing this and like, yeah, I'm scrubbing your back, but it's like cutting you. You know what I mean? So there has to be a balance of, yeah, I'm getting something off of you, but yet it's hurting you. So we have to tell each other, like, hey, you can go a little bit harder, but slow down. Like, I want to make whoever I'm working with comfortable with me to, if they want to tell me off, they can tell me off and we can be like, yep, yesterday was a bad day. Today, like I just look for the brighter in everything because in life you just never know where life can bring you. And today you're here and tomorrow you're not, or this has happened, you can do this, you can't do that. So I just like the whole karma thing. I believe in it hard and forced. So whatever I'm doing, I do it with my heart. And if I'm not doing it with my heart, just don't do it.
I mean, I think that's admirable. I think especially because we live in a world where people make a lot of assumptions, and this is really a field where you can't really afford
Hmm.
to make assumptions, because it just leads to contention, leads to a bad relationship, poisoning of the well, whatever. And I'm sure you've experienced stuff like that. I know I have. I've had negative experiences with caregivers, but I've also had a lot of positive ones. Like our team we have right now is probably the best it's ever been for me
Mm.
in terms of caregiving, just because it's a good situation where you guys come in, we've got a good rapport. It's not like like there have been points throughout since my injury where I've become like a pretty like intense therapist for some of my caregivers. And it's like there's a level of I'm trapped. So like I can't really like if I like am not in the mood to hear their crap or something like that, I can't really say that cuz like
Mhm.
I don't want to like sour the mood for the rest of it. And I'm not saying this is like a situation with you or
No, it's life.
I'm saying that
It
there's
can happen with anyone, your
like
parents, Gina, like anybody.
and like we've had our therapy conversations and those are valuable to me, but there have been ones in the past where it like went way too far over the line. It's like it's a heavy cloud when that caregiver enters. Like they come in, I'm like, "Oh god, like I just want to get through this. I don't want to like hear like have to like sit
Drama.
there and yeah, listen to drama where I know it's like really easy to solve, but they don't want to listen or they are just hyper depressed. So they're not even capable of
Yeah.
expressing stuff. It's just this dark cloud that's in the room and oh my and that's the start of your day. Like I just woke up and then I have to like go through that and like, now have like a productive day, like while trying to dig myself out of that hole that I kind of ended up in.
Yeah.
And it's like there is such a spectrum of caregivers. I mean, it's like
There's
you've
a
got the ones that kind of fit the name like you, where it's like you actually care and you take your time. It's not like a quantity necessarily thing. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got people who treat it as like a almost like a blue collar job, which I don't think it should ever be
never.
associated with. And it's just like, the numbers doing like, clean this guy like someone who works in a nursing home and is just like cleaning everyone. Does
Mm,
a really crappy job, but they did like 20 people in an hour or something like that.
yeah. That definitely goes with it. I noticed it a lot, especially during nursing school. Like the way someone would come in and be like, sir, can I, versus someone that's like, hey, how are you? Like it's two different. You set the tone for the comfort, for the if how I was gonna feel so uncomfortable, but she made me feel so warm inside. So they're the whole like shades off, type of thing. And I think that's always my goal. Like I always want to walk in to any room and make someone feel better. I could be having the worst day, but I mean, 5 people feel better today, so I don't have space to feel bad.
I think, and I think part of that too is just that our world, the way it is right now, at least in the US, doesn't value caregiving
Hmm.
as much as it should. It doesn't value human care. It's like this ends up being a job that people just take because it's available. And then it gets like associated with like illegal immigrants and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't care who's helping me as long as they're helping me.
Properly.
It's like who if you're available and stuff, like, and you're willing to work with me and we can talk whether or not we even speak the same language. Like,
Hmm.
I've had caregivers who didn't speak a lick of English and I didn't speak a lick of like Brazilian Portuguese, but we found a way to make it work. I mean, I had some Spanish, she had some Spanish, so we were able to kind of work through that and we had a great relationship. Like that was an amazing one of my best caregivers. And that's like this situation where it's like I feel like it just needs to be valued so much more so that systems and like corporations and everything else that utilizes these people can understand the value of them and start paying them more, because that's ultimately one of the most important jobs, like medical fields, caregiving, like direct human to human
Yeah,
care is like
human, yeah,
super, super important.
100%. I agree with you. It's like when you like, I'll go back to being in school, is like you see in class, all the ones who are book smart, book smart. Once they get onto that floor, deer in headlights. They'll tell you everything to do, but they cannot physically like, like we've visited pediatrics and had people put on diapers backwards.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, "Wait, you didn't play with dolls? Like, at least you could like figure out how to put the diaper on." But I mean, like, book smart is book smart, but common sense is not too common sometimes. And when it comes to nursing and any type of caregiving, it's always like you learn as you go. You know what I mean? There's certain parts of nursing that you just see in books and never really see in person at all until you come across a specific situation or whatever. But overall, I feel like personality has a big way with it. And you can tell the people who are caregiving for the money, and there's people who are caregiving because it's part of their personality and they might as well get paid for it.
And then I feel like there are some people too who are just like just took it up maybe because they were born into it or something,
Mm.
and they're like I've had this experience a couple times where a caregiver will just like come in acting like they're the expert on everything and not really considering what you need and want,
Need, yeah.
so it's like that can be really annoying, and like I'd much prefer someone with zero experience who's like not afraid to touch me, who's willing to learn. That person is infinitely more valuable to me than the person that has like who knows years of experience but is like a total like hardhead.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely understand that. Cause I'm always willing to learn. Even there's things that I'm like, I remember this in school, but you're still like, wait, but what is it? Like, just to make sure, you know what I mean? And I always say there's no dumb questions.
Yeah, and it's like in school you learn concepts, you can learn it, but it's really like so much of that shifts and varies depending on the person and their biology, it's like
Definitely.
so much of that can change, it's you consider pain and like learning about different kinds of pain. Had you had experience with like so neuropathic pain and nociceptive pain, just for people to understand? Nociceptive pain is, if I stab you in the leg with a knife, you're experiencing nociceptive pain, regular pain as most people understand it. Neuropathic pain is nerve pain, so it's not necessarily triggered by a physical event like someone stabbing you or something, but it can be very much affected by that. It can be affected by anxiety, it can be affected by the weather and all that stuff. But it's this internal pain that you kind of have to mask to be able to get through your days because it's kind of constant for a lot of people, and myself included. When was kind of your first experience with those two different pain types?
Um, I've experienced it with patients, but I would say I understood it when I had a child.
Hmm.
Um, Once going through childbirth and being like, okay, like something's happening, I'm in pain, but then like you're getting sciatic pain, which, and so it's just like the level of like, ow, somebody stabbed me versus like, there's something just boiling up inside of me that there's nothing you could do other than go through. And I felt like that gave me a comprehension that before was like, "Oh, you hurt? Should I do this? Should I do that?" Like, there's no more should. It's just more like, okay, this hurts. There's nothing we could do, but we can move you to the side and try to figure out so it can be less painful. Like, there's always like options in that type of sense because like trying to dumb it down of like, "Oh, let's take this. Let's like," that's gonna piss somebody off. And I've learned that level of like, don't ask too many questions. Just say, what do you want me to do to fix it right now? And if I can't fix it, I will leave you alone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of just offering support, sometimes, and just being there and
Yeah.
helping someone work through the anxiety that comes with that pain, because that will at least lessen it. You got to take it where you can get it. I mean,
I always feel like sometimes your presence is more than your voice.
definitely.
You know what I mean? So like in certain senses, like when I used to work with the my person who had ALS, he was more or less like he's like, your silence is so golden. And I'm just like, it took me a little bit to like get it 'cause I'll just be there. He could be crying or deep breath, and I'm just there. I'm not asking him. He's just like, "You never asked me if I'm okay." And I was just like, "Somebody asked me if I'm okay if I'm crying. It's over.
Yeah, it just brings the floodgates.
It's over." So, like, I know the trigger words of not, like, don't do that.
And I think there's something I usually do with new caregivers when I bring them in is I'll purposely be a little quieter at times to work on building like a comfortable silence. Like I feel like there's a lot of value in having that
Silence.
comfortable silence because you know there's times when okay we're in the middle of like an intense conversation or something like that, but then I'll get like some intense nerve pain or something will be happening in my body and I'll get this intense pain but I won't necessarily know what it's from, and if I'm not comfortable enough with you to like pause you or stop you or be silent and work through that pain in that moment, it can just kind of carry it through further into the day.
Mm,
So it's nice to be able to have that space to kind of like let the pain exist and let it subside or, you know, not feel like I'm having a conversation with you and then I have to mask that pain because I want to continue. I mean, yeah, there's times when, okay, we're having a great conversation. I want to continue this conversation regardless of how I'm feeling. You know, I'll exercise that even now in this show because I don't want to like stop it on
mm,
camera if I'm in pain or something like that.
true.
But I think there's a lot of just like value and importance that comes with that relaxed silence and like establishing that with someone because I don't know, it's like even family members you can develop like an awkward silence with, which is like painful to me to think about. It's
Mhm.
like I, like, will ride down to, the exercise gym with my dad every Tuesday and Thursday. It's like an hour down, hour and a half back, and it's like we have, like, very comfortable silence, but we also can talk and have, like, whatever
Yeah.
conversations during that, and I think that makes me feel more at home necessarily than even being at home sometimes, because that's like, you know, comfort on the go, and it's like
Definitely.
someone who understands if something were to go wrong, like what like at least the modalities to kinda talk to me about how to handle it.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Being able to sit in silence comfortably, I feel like it's a trait that not a lot of people have because the mind can play so many tricks on you. Your silence could be like, "Okay, what did I do? What did
Yeah.
they say? Did I say something? Did maybe I need to do this? Oh, let me say something now." But it's just not. It's just is, and it can just be.
But part of getting to that point is definitely contending with those bumps where you're, like, trying to get into the other person's head and read their
Mm.
mind.
Looking into eyes, the awkward, like, to the side look like,
Yeah,
eh.
and then you draw a lot of assumptions. I feel like it's carries through to, like, emails and text messages because you can't convey tone with those. So it's like, you don't know how people are gonna take a text, especially if you're joking
Yeah.
or, like, whatever, and it's like, "Oh, they didn't get my dry tone or my sarcastic tone because that doesn't come through." And I feel like the mental gymnastics we do with those are very similar
I
to what you
agree.
can do with, like, a caregiver or someone like that when you're like, "Oh, what's the mood today? Are they in pain?" Like, blah, 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 you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like, even, like, working as, like, a CNA, I remember just, like, focusing on, like, getting my work done and then not making friends, and that was also a problem in a sense of, like, "Why is she so quiet? What is she hiding?" And it's just like, "No, like, I got, like, 12 people, let me go handle them, and then I'll know what you have for dinner." Like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't my priority is always different. So, that's why I felt like the atmosphere of one-to-one is better for me because this whole, like, group on the floor type of thing, sometimes, like, I don't mesh well with too many personalities who are doing the same thing, but see it in too many different ways, even though we're all doing the same thing. Everybody has their, like, way of doing it. Granted, you learn from people 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I've learned from so many, like, IV nurses that I'm watching, like, okay, okay, squeezing like, little things when you're just looking over the shoulder, 100%. But I feel like the one-to-one, me and you, we get to know each other. I know what to expect every day. There's nothing like unless obviously stuff happens, but, like, working on, like, a med surg floor is just unpredictable.
And I couldn't imagine having, like, an agency with, like, a revolving door of caregivers. That would stress me out so much on a daily basis because, like, so much of my mental energy will be put towards directing my care with this person, seeing like, do they know what they're doing? Are they doing it right? Are they hurting me? Are they okay? Are they hurting themselves? Like, and having to relive that every day. And that is the reality for some people, for a lot of people, which is crazy. I mean, I feel like just mentally exhausting to have to go through that on a daily basis. Like, how are you supposed to have like a productive rest of your day after you just went through this like super intimate thing with a stranger and like and maybe it was contentious, maybe it wasn't. Maybe you have that day where it just goes really well and you're like, "Oh god," and then that night knowing that someone different is gonna come in the morning and the anxiety and maybe you don't sleep well and then you're not prepared for that new
Yeah.
caregiver. There's like so many variables that can come and rock that boat.
Yeah. The guy that I used to work with, there was a time where he was going through a divorce while he had ALS, and he was like, caregivers changing. Like, like he had his like niche two people, but he needed more people because of like the family aspect not being there.
And what's his like communication capability?
He was not able to talk. He used to use a computer and type with his eyes and able to make it speak. And people coming in and him having to explain everything over and over.
Exhausted.
Yeah, so he had to literally, because he's typed with his eyes, he had to sit there and literally come up with a whole like 3, 4 paragraphs. And somebody will come, he'll just,
Yeah, you have the set.
yeah, over and over and over again. That at a point, like I was able to say the last paragraph like word for word because he'd do it so many times, and he's just like, yo, I don't have the mental capacity to keep doing this. You know what I mean? Like, and I understood it. It's just like, if I like my food one way and this person's supposed to make it, now this person's making it, now I got 7 other people coming, it's not gonna ever be the same.
Yeah, and the whole idea behind caregiving is to help you so that you can then live a productive life, whatever that means to you. So like if your entire life revolves around just like the mental aspects of your care and directing your care, it's like I can see how some people wouldn't want to continue living with that existence because there's a level of what am I doing this for? It's like you want to see this level of progression. Okay, you've got an injury, you got a spinal cord injury, you're paralyzed, you work really hard to try and get as much as you can back. That plateaus, that stops. Like what does your life become after that? Okay, you're out of survival mode, you're out of, re-strength training, you're learning how to like have a good rapport with your caregivers, rebuilding your relationships with your family and friends,
Mhm.
and what is ahead for you,
Yeah.
like, I know that's scary, especially after an injury where you spent so much time surviving and you're like, "Oh, now I'm this new person reborn. I have to live, like, an equally productive life as this person," and that can be really scary, so then maybe you dive headlong into just being a total terror for your caregivers because you almost want that to be, like, your only, like, focus and existence and be like, "I'm so exhausted from that, like, I can't do anything else." So there's, like, almost 2
Yeah, this
sides to that, I feel like.
there definitely is. And as like on the caregiver side, like you want to be like I want to be your hands, like literally, like I want to be your hands and feet, but I want to be out of the way all at the same time. You know what I mean? Like I want to make you do things as if like you're doing it yourself and you're getting everything done so that there's like a sense of independence for you through me. And I don't like I feel good off of that. You know what I mean? Like I work with someone named Dave and I feel like I'm his brains, even though he's telling me like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, well, at least I reminded you, like, it's Valentine's Day. Like, let's go get stuff for your wife. Let's go do this. Let's do that. And he's just like, ah. And then when he gives it to her, he goes, here you go, honey. And I'm sitting on the back, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's a satisfaction in it. And I tell him, like, because I'm a single mom, I'm a single woman. So there's certain satisfactions that you want that if I can make someone else get them, I'm satisfied.
See, and that what you're proposing there is a unique relationship that can't occur in situations where there is a revolving door of caregivers or you're in a care home and there's a bunch of different people that are being monitored and have to get certain stuff done in certain times. So it's like, in my opinion, like I feel like everybody who needs it deserves like that one-on-one care situation. And it doesn't feel that different from the arguments when we were kids of our parents wanting, less students to a teacher in a classroom or
Mm.
something like that, so that more attention can be paid to them. And it's like, I feel like there's maybe a diminishing return point with the classroom because you still want that social aspect of enough
Mhm.
kids to be able to socialize and it not become, incestuous. But like the the caregiving side of things, I feel like that could really be remedied. I want to kind of propose like a not radical to me, but radical to the world kind of concept, but like the idea of, and I'm not really a religious guy, but the concept of heaven is very much like in the lexicon of the world, and like the idea of heaven on earth. So like the idea of like a heaven before heaven. So if we valued the jobs of like um, med workers and caregivers to this point where they got paid really, really well. A lot of money went into these care homes so that you're guaranteed towards the end of your life when you need care that that will be covered and paid for by the taxes and stuff you paid throughout your life. And then some, and then you end up in this situation where it's luxury, it's beautiful, and you have a single caregiver that you work with and you develop this relationship with. So it's friends, but it's also caregivers. And it's
Mhm.
like you have all this money that flows into that, which at the same time can alleviate some people's fears of mortality. So it's like your fear of aging and what's your life gonna look like when your faculties deteriorate to some degree, and you've got to rely on a family member who may or may not be available or something like that. Whereas if you lived your life knowing that at like when you needed it, that was there waiting for you in the best way possible,
Mm.
with people who were valued and paid well to care for you, and these facilities that had a lot of money go into them, like who would really argue with that?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would take so much
A
stress
lot of stress, a
off of
lot of
people's
longevity
lives,
of living, like
fear of the unknown.
yeah. Yeah, because I do feel like the fear of the unknown, anxiety, especially if someone's in certain type of turmoil, will bring you off, will bring
Yeah,
you towards the end because in a sense, like, you're bringing the dread to yourself, but it's not your fault. It's the what if, it's what am I gonna do? How bad can this get? That mindset.
and how do different people respond to that? Some people feel like an animal back into the corner and lash out
Hmm.
and then destroy their relationships. So it's like
Yeah.
having that, knowing that there's like this cushion waiting for you. And like I feel like that incentivizes people to work to pay into it, like I I think there could be a version of that too for like early childhood care as well.
Yeah, definitely. And these situations can get so raw that as angry as the person can get, or I can feel bad in a sense of like walking to a room and like the authority vibe. Like, I'm here to help you, but it's more like, get this, do this. Because there's like a misunderstanding between the two of us. You know what I mean? So I always try to like set the tone. And I'm like, okay, like, do you talk to everybody like this? Well, you're working for me. I am. But we're a team. So like I don't want you to be yelling at me, making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm doing this for you. And I don't want you to feel like I'm doing this wrong because I'm mad at you because you're yelling at me. So then we're already setting the tone wrong.
And like what's the egg in that situation? Was it like that they had been given caregivers who just came in, like did stuff and then dipped, like,
Exactly.
and like so they're fighting for
It's a
that.
PTSD moment
Yeah,
for them. And then for me, it's like oh, I'm going to run away.
right.
So then there's just like, oh, I can't find a good person. But it's like, because that one person ruined it for everybody else, you think that that's the only way to deal with people. But like, you should work on like personality, how somebody walks in, how friendly they are to you, you know? And then she's like, okay. And it was like a Portuguese lady. So she was like, there was a language barrier and a culture thing that was already there. So it's like, do this, do that. And then she's like, you're my girl. You're supposed to work for me. I was like, yeah, I'm your caregiver, but I'm not your girl. You know what I mean? And she's like, well, you're in nursing school? Oh, my sister was a nurse back home. And then whew, everything's down. The flames are all gone. But it's more like when they give you the flames, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
That's literally it is. And some people's just like, oh, you dumbed yourself down. I'm like, I dumbed myself down so that we can have an understanding. Now we can have conversations all the way up to here.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's important. I mean, going into that room, that first impression, it doesn't need to set the tone for everything. You
Never.
know, everyone can always say sorry. Everyone can always walk back what they said, admit their mistakes. And being okay with doing that is like the most human thing you can do, I think.
100%. 100%. And as a person of color, there's certain times that people have never really been next to a person of color until this very moment, the most intimate moment. So
Which is crazy.
there's so many levels of uncomfortable there. And I can't walk in and be like, "Oh, she's mad at me for," no,
Yeah.
like, never in their life other than passing it, and even then, it's still from a distance.
Yeah, and that's just drawing assumptions. It's like I feel like there's assumptions not only about skin tone, but also about the caregiver role in general. That it's
Definitely.
like it is seen as like almost like treated as like a bottom of the barrel, like low income, like type thing. And that's crazy. Like
There's
this
a
is
whole other
caring for
really I
people.
feel like I've learned more things doing caregiving than I do in nursing school.
I mean,
And that when I'm in nursing school or in clinical, that I was able to be like, "Oh, we could just do this. Let's flip them like this." And my instructor's just like, "How did you?" And I'm just like, "Well, I work with this person." And she's like, "Oh, really? Tell me about this." And then this is giving me more incentive in knowing, like, she's like, "Oh, she's knowledgeable, not because she knows everything, it's because she's living it." There's some people that literally in nursing school, until they're in that clinical, have never even, like, other than themselves, seen anything.
oh yeah. Which is wild. Like, how do you even end up wanting to go into that field? I guess you're just looking at the books and just kind of like
The
not
book
thinking.
smart until they get there. That's why it's like clinical is the part to know, like, look to the left and look to the right and see who's gonna be who's gonna be with you by the end because, like, slowly it's just like, there was a girl in school that had, like, feces fall on her shoe and she didn't come back.
Eh,
She did not come back, and, like, she was like I'm like, "You're towards the end." She just like, "If I can't do this, like, for the rest of my," I'm like, "This is just a level.
yeah.
You don't have to be here, like, there's so many branches here that you could go into."
Plus, you get used to it. It's like the way you reacted for this first one might be totally different from how you react from the second
Yeah.
one. I wonder, like, how it would go over if they did like fear factor as like a barrier to entry for like med school.
Yeah, if they had I think if they did that, all the nurses would pass and all the doctors would fail. No lie.
That would be hilarious.
No lie. Because
All right, you have to carry a rat in your mouth and crawl through a sewage water with like snakes in it.
I'm
Eh,
telling you I'm telling you, like, we see it all. We see it all.
so your mom has been a nurse and a caregiver before you. How do you kind of see your modality of like care versus hers?
Um, I feel like it's a domino effect. I feel like a lot of my base, my status quo, my base is from her, and then she's from Haiti, so she has, like, that cultural barrier on top of it, so I feel like it's kinda just, like, I layered on top of what she's taught me already, and, I've also learned the things that she's done wrong at the same time, which was really interesting. It's just like, well, she got it done in her way.
Yeah. Plus, she came up in a different era, you know? So it's like, what are some of, like, the things that were, like, her bread and butter that wouldn't even, like, apply to now, you know? You wonder, like, what would be something that maybe, like, she was like, "Oh, this is something you gotta do every time," and now you might, like, laugh at that or something like that.
My mother would take her clothes off, like, downstairs
Yeah.
and then come upstairs. Like, her school her, like, anything that touched the nursing floor is stayed downstairs and she would come up like that. Like, she'd just leave that there, which was always, like, interesting versus me. Like, I come back and just sit on the couch like, "Woof." Like, she's just like it was the 2 different dynamics, but it was a different time. There was a lot of fears that they had of certain things that were just kinda like, "Ah, common cold, whatever,"
Yes.
type of thing. So, I feel like that, but I our generation is so nonchalant, we feel unfazed by things, but I also think they were unfazed because that was the generation of no glove nursing.
Yeah.
Just giving meds like mom and grandma type
Yeah.
of vibe. So, that was a whole different situation.
Well, I feel like we kinda grew up too with, like, a lot of, like, positive progress happening, like, in our young lives with, like, you know, vaccines, germ theory, and I mean, germ theory is already very much a thing, but, like, just the progression of that and everything. So it's like now when we're kind of seeing our current administration like roll back a lot of this stuff and we're like, geez, like a measles outbreak, like, it's
Mm,
like your mom was like, and my mom were caregivers during like AIDS pandemic stuff,
yeah.
and it's like we have the health crisis of like the COVID pandemic, but now it's like we're reintroducing like or bringing back like ancient
Diseases, yeah, and, like, next thing you know, we're gonna have the mumps or something.
yeah, right.
Oh, it's a scary transition. I'm grateful for the technology that's happening, so and I feel like, unfortunately, we believe so much in the technology that the fear is not as much as it should be
I think it's turning a little bit with the way AI has progressed, starting to scare a lot of people.
because they don't know what's real and what's
Yeah,
not.
so I think people are starting to question that more. At least I hope they are. Because that's super important, trust but verify, always question everything. But at the same time, we don't want to have to question everything that's really exhausting. And you want to be able to like go through your day and be like, okay, the sky is blue and just be
Believe
okay
it the
with
whole
that.
day
The earth is rough.
and believe it. It's hard. It's hard. It's the world we live in. I mean, I, like, find my mom sending me things of, like, surgeries on toes and stuff, and I'm like, "Mommy, that's AI." And I'm just like, "You should know." She's like, "But a doctor one time I saw." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure you saw something similar, but that's not real." Like,
It's confusing and it just floods the zone.
mhm.
So it's like, if I'm doing a lot of research in terms of like stuff that can help with spinal cord injuries, like that gets lost in the noise because there's all these fake videos coming out. It's like, oh, this, like doctor somewhere cracked this guy's neck and now he's walking again, but that's like an AI generated video. It's like that creates noise that then covers up like the real like stuff that's being
And
worked.
someone will come into the doctor's office or wherever and be like, "Listen, I want this." And you're just like, "Sorry, that's not possible." And all their hopes and dreams is crashed off of somebody wanting
Or
to.
they choose not to believe you, and then they
Mm,
keep going to all different doctors everywhere,
that is true too.
and then spreading and then get mad and spread this information and then start a movement like Maha.
I know, right? Ah, we don't know what's gonna happen with this stuff.
But, back to kind of our relationship and stuff, like, we've had, I think, quite a few transitions with how the care has changed for my body. I got a colostomy bag surgery in the end of October 2025. It's February 2026 now. Um Which changed things completely, like, the bowel program is horrible, like, to have to deal with, and I'm sure it's horrible for you as well. I'm sure you don't wanna say it to make me feel bad necessarily, but I can't imagine anyway that it's like a positive
Mm,
experience. And stuff like that, like, letting someone in that was a stranger, not only like, seeing me naked was, like, not a big deal compared to the bowel program, where you're letting them essentially inside of your body with a place you can't feel anymore and you're trusting them.
yeah.
It's like that is honestly I can't I'm hard pressed to think of situations where it requires more blind trust
Mm,
than that,
that's the most, yeah.
and it's like,
Because all the time I could have been like, "Yeah, I did it."
yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't have known, which is
It's funny you
with her
say that
heart.
because I've had that
With
experience
heart, could someone really?
with a caregiver, yeah. It's fear. It's fear. It's the fear of them not wanting to upset me, but also the fear of what the procedure entails. So it's like this
Hmm.
intense tornado of anxiety in their bodies, and I think that is kind of the part of the sink or swim of if you make it as a
Yeah,
caregiver
it
and
is a
stuff.
sink or swim. Yeah,
And that can deteriorate a relationship so fast if that trust breaks down.
period. Yeah. I find myself even, like, I could forget something and then, like, think of it in the night and, like, text the person I was working with. Like, it just, "Oh, I forgot this. Oh, I got this." And it's just like, "Well, you left. Why are you still thinking about that?" But it's just kinda like because I did it with my heart. I didn't do it to be like, "1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gone."
Well, and that's important, and that's why that's the big difference between, like, private care and, like, corporatized, care. It's like
Mhm.
there's goals and objectives, like, set based on money versus goals and objectives just determined between the two of you because it helps both of you.
Yeah, definitely. I've unfortunately been in situations where I had to report people because I'm just like, if that was my mother, my brother, my cousin, what would I want to do to you?
And it's so
You know what I
to
mean?
say
So
that to people, but
so why would you do that to somebody else? You know, that's my mindset because I'm just like, whatever wicked you do will come to you in any shape or form that it may be. So especially when you're coming and take care of somebody who can't do it themselves, you are them for that moment.
yeah.
That's the only way to think of it. And I always do that even when I'm just training people. I'm just like, this might sound so stupid to you, but you are them for that moment. They want to scratch their back, you're going to scratch their back. They need to pick their nose, you're going to have to pick their nose. Like, it's just what it is for the moment so that they don't feel as if they can't do something. Right there, you are them. That's the only way to see it.
You know what? As obvious as that seems, that never really occurred to me until you said it to do that. But I guess I've never been in a caregiving role myself. Like, I've been a breadwinner, I've taken care of my wife monetarily, but
Yeah.
I've never been like a physical caregiver for somebody. And that's as much as I've been on this side of it, I still don't have the full
The
picture of
concept.
what it
Yeah.
means to be a caregiver. So I think it is a very, very valuable and unique thing that everybody should experience in some form. I mean, you can be a babysitter, sure. I've done that, but that's not really the same
Not
thing.
the same.
There's something where you enter this like intimate space and are able to navigate that with someone, and somehow you both have a happy, productive day after that's over
Mhm.
is like kind of miraculous in a lot of ways, but it shouldn't be, like everybody should kind of understand that and have that experience.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's the same way as if like you have your child or your mother or somebody like they've done it for you, you could do it for them. You know, that's like just the mindset. If it's my child, it's like they can't get up and eat, they can't do this. I'm them for now. I'm doing them until they can do them. And it's okay.
I think that's a really hard flip for or switch for people to flip in their heads of like
Mm.
being the one cared for when they were a kid and then becoming that caregiver for their parents or whoever. That is really, really, really
Yeah, like
scary.
it is super scary, but they change your diaper so that you can change theirs. Like it's just kind of a full circle mindset. And I feel like for me, culturally, being grown like with like West Indian mindset of just like family, keeping everything in the family, like, oh, you don't need a babysitter. I'm gonna make your grandmother come and take care of the kid. Like, like everything is like here. You don't need outside because it's all within the family. And if we take care of each other, then we can build together.
And there's positives and negatives to that, but I think one of the big positives, like you said, is that loyalty to family in terms of caregiving. And I think that's something that's definitely lacking in like American culture, at least North American culture,
Hmm.
that I think could be brought back. And I think that's one of the values that gets brought in from like our more recent immigrant population is like this tie to family and wanting to care for them and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
we could learn from that because we've kind of gone heavy into capitalism and heavy into like what have you done for me lately and stuff like that when ultimately that shit doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I remember having a coworker and she had just gotten married and she was explaining to other coworkers that her in-laws have to come live with her. They were just like, "What do you mean? You just got married. Why would they just?" She's just like, "Where else would they go?" But like I understood,
Yeah,
but everybody else is like, "No, like you have your own place." It's just like, where else would they go? Like she literally said it like, where else would they go?
right.
And now when I have my kids and they're already there, like it's just and when she got pregnant, the mom took care of her as if she was in like a bed and breakfast because culturally there's just what happens. And I feel like that's why sometimes like go back to like the caregiving thing of culturally there's always a lot of foreigners that end up in this situation because they're just they don't see the shame.
Yeah, it's like built into how you're raised.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, I could just go help them eat. I do this for my grandmother." Okay.
I think something with like the culture here a little bit is this illusion of permanence. So like the idea that, oh, once, I have a 5-year plan, I have a 10-year plan. Like, once I graduate college, we're going to get married, then we're going to move into our own house and we're going to like have a baby and a dog. But what the hell happens if one of you gets paralyzed? What happens if one of you gets cancer? What happens if that dog dies? What happens if one of your parents need caregiving help? Like the idea of these plans, these illusory plans are just so silly and I think bad for people's mental health. I
Yeah.
think you can have a plan to some degree, but plans rarely survive when they're hit hard with like some kind of like real life situation.
100%.
It's like going into a fight thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this, this and this to the other person," and then you get punched in the face first before you get a punch off, and then you have to adapt. Your plan is out the window. You have to adapt and come up at that point.
Exactly, exactly. I was watching this thing on Netflix about X Top Model, and one of the most like unique runway model teachers had a stroke, and he could do everything but walk.
Ah.
And it was just like watching the whole documentary, I was like, ah, drama, drama. But that part was like, boom. Like I felt it in so many different ways because growing up watching Next Top Model, he was the one who was on the runway looking more feminine than anybody ever, but killing it on the runway. And now who he is not who he is anymore. So then who is he?
Right. Yeah, that's like the idea of like, oh, if you're like an Olympic level athlete and like you put so much into that and then God forbid like you get an amputation or something like that. And what are you after that? Kind of like what I was talking about before where you're in the survival phase after an injury and stuff and then you kind of have to be like, okay, I'm this new person now. What is my life going to look like? Because everything I did in preparation for the life I had before doesn't really apply anymore, or I can't use that in the same way. Like you have to shift your perspective in some
Yeah.
way.
Definitely, definitely happens to athletes all the time. Injuries, and then it's like, now what?
Yeah,
I'm
like
going to college. This is my first season, my freshman year. Like, what happens now?
yeah, you snap your ankle or something like that. Like what do you do?
What do you do?
That's why it's always good, I think, to have multiple interests,
Yeah,
and
your
like,
foot in so many pots. Yeah,
yeah, don't be that master of a single thing.
I'm with that. I'm with that. I always tell my son the same thing, and I'm just like, you need to have books. You can have all the sports you want, but you need to have books as your downfall. So it could be your downfall for anything else that you can be like, I can work with my brain. And make it work. It doesn't have to be physical, it doesn't have to be anything like. And I've told him about you, and he's just like, "How does he play video games?" And I was just like, "Yeah, he got this machine, he got this, he got that." He's just like, "What?" And I'm just like, "You see?" I was just like, "'Cause he made his mind work in other ways that it's just like he didn't just focus on other things, that he's just like, I'm in this situation, but what I can still do everything I love in my way."
Yeah, and then there's a lot of power that comes with being forced into a situation. It's not that different from being dropped into a country with a language you don't speak and being immersed in how much quicker you pick up that language versus someone like
Forcefully.
learning it in school in their own country, where that language isn't prevalent,
Survival.
or like, yeah, it's like, it's just like necessity, essentially. Like me driving this chair with my head, people being like, oh my God, you drive that with your head. I'm like, well, it's the only way I could do anything on my own. So if that was your situation, I'm sure you would learn it just as quick.
100%.
So I kind of want to wrap up on this one thing. It's kind of like a funny little thing, but it's like the way thank yous work in our relationship.
Mm.
And it's like because you're constantly helping me do stuff, like I want to say thank you for everything and like but at the same time I feel like because of the sheer amount of times I say thank you it can like lose its
Oh, God.
value. And I don't know if that's like a real thing or not. That's just how it plays out in my head.
I don't think so. Um, I don't think it loses value at all. I feel like, granted, you could feel as if you're a broken record, which I can get to,
Yeah.
and then I could just be like, yeah, 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 I'm gonna do it for you. Like, it's okay. We both already have that understanding, but I don't feel like it's not. I think it's good for you and it's good for me just to hear the reassurance.
Well, I want to take it then and say thank you for everything you do for me because it helps me a lot and it really does mean a lot to me. And I know I can't take every second that we do something and stop and give you like a real full on thank you, but every time I do say thank you, that is what's behind it.
Yeah. And the irony of it, just as much as you need me, I need you.
Yeah.
Literally. And sometimes I will go through something and something's happening. I'm like, tomorrow I'm gonna ask JD this. Like, while something's happening in my real life and I'm just like, whatever. Like you become my little therapist also, and like you're one of my friends. You're my friend roster.
I mean,
Lie.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't, like, feel value from being that person that people can come to talk
Yeah.
to about that, so
I feel like even if like when I move on or whatever, I'm still gonna come check you. I'm still gonna go like it's just we have this. We're here. For sure.
well, thank you so much for coming on and
Oh,
talking
thanks
with
for
me today,
having me.
Cynthia. It's been a really excellent conversation.
It's been easy.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Seen and Heard. We'll see you on the next one.